Chapter 5. Tracking Bane wasn't easy for Wilder because they possessed the same cunning skills. Keep near the water's edge, disguise your scent with forest animals and patience, and foremost, don't be in a hurry to bring down your prey, know him and his movements. Wilder covered his body with the scent of squirrels, rabbits, and foxes. He wouldn't make the same mistake as before. Although he masked his scent, he allowed his anger and emotions to color his judgment. If he had eaten and gotten enough rest for his body to withstand the cold and distance he had to travel, he could have fought Bane when he found Adrianne and been rid of him. Now he had to fight the same battle again, but this time he was alone, which was in his favor. But his emotions had gotten the best of him, and that could prove a disadvantage against a determined, waiting killer werewolf. The same thing he advised Hunter against had come back to haunt him. Wilder had tracked Bane and Adrianne, under the assumption that she had given in to Bane. He found them because he separated himself from Adrianne and became dispassionate, but seeing Adrianne had made him weak, and he knew that to defeat Bane he couldn't have a weakness, so he put off his fight for another day, which emboldened his enemy and might have made him stronger. Again, Bane had him at a disadvantage, but it became more imperative now that he end this assault on him and the ones he loved. Wilder could only hope that Bane didn't hurt Hunter. Wilder could only hope that his son had heard some of the teachings he had tried to drill into his stubborn head. He had to separate himself from the thoughts of his beloved Hunter in order to function and do what needed to be done. His pack and family depended on Wilder's ability to bring Bane down. He had to end this now, once and for all, and kill Bane before he brought any more problems to his family. Wilder made enormous time on foot, but he needed transportation to get to Alaska quickly, to find Bane's hideout. Bane's pack had submitted and given away his whereabouts to bring peace to the pack and ensure their survival. They accepted Wilder as their true alpha and had pledged their loyalty to him or suffer the Samsa's wrath. Wilder stopped at the nearest car lot to purchase a truck. Stopping outside, he saw the truck he wanted standing on a platform. The silver truck would be just what he needed to get him to Alaska in a hurry. Waiting and pacing in front, several salesmen came out of their fancy offices and took a look at him, and walked back indoors. Wilder spotted a real salesman. He was hungry to make a sale. He didn't let Wilder's 3-day-old beard and lack of shoes on his feet detract him from walking up to Wilder and asking, "Can I help you?" Wilder put his hand to his face and said, "I think you can." "Do you see something you like?" "Yes, and can I get it in a few minutes?" The salesman took a long look at Wilder from his hair, face, and down to his feet. "I don't know if it can be ready in a few minutes, but we will do everything we can to get it today." "It will have to be in a few minutes. I'm in a hurry. My son's life depends on it." "Come inside. We will see what we can do," the young dark-haired man in a reasonably new suit and sensible shoes with a nice shine said to Wilder. The young salesman looked as if it was his first job, because he hadn't learned to discriminate with his customers, which was what Wilder was looking for. Wilder walked into the Mercedes showroom behind the salesman. Wilder wore a black and green flannel shirt and a pair of jeans. Glancing down to see what everyone was glaring at, he realized that he had forgotten to place his shoes in his knapsack. Not to be deterred, he sauntered into the young man's office. Sitting down in the nearest chair, he said to the young man, "I need to purchase that truck." "We have just the car for you." "I don't want any truck. The AMG 65 SUV." The dark-haired man mumbled, "That SUV is over $200,000. "I know. You've made the sale if you can have it ready in 5 minutes. He threw his black Mercedes American Express card on the desk and looked him in the eyes. "I will need more identification," the salesman said, glancing up. "I don't have any. Your time is running out." The young man picked up the phone and made a call. He described Wilder to the person on the other end, then he said yes, looked at Wilder, and repeated yes a couple of times and hung up the phone. He stood as Wilder watched at him go to a credit card terminal, and in a matter of minutes returned. "Step outside, Mr. Samsa, and follow me." When Wilder reached the door, his SUV was sitting waiting for him. The young man handed him his card, closed the door and said, "We didn't have time to wash it." Wilder smiled and started the truck and took off. He watched in the mirror as the young man balled his fist, jerked his arm downward and said, "Yes." It took 39 hours to arrive in Fairbanks, Alaska. Over 2,000 miles from the dealership in Seattle. Wilder called ahead and reserved a plane to fly him to Koktavek, Alaska. He thought of his son. How could he endure this? But Wilder thought of a young cub. In the time it took him to arrive in Alaska, his son had become a yearling and preparing to become a full-grown werewolf. He knew Bane would be waiting for him. What would Bane do once he discovered that Adrianne was no longer with him? What would he do indeed? Wilder's eyes were getting heavy, but he had to drive out to the airport. He had to remain lucid until then. He would sleep on the plane. That would be a short trip, only 300 more miles until he saw his son. When he arrived at the airfield, the plane was waiting as well as his crew, which was a pilot, co-pilot, and a steward. He needed something to eat and a change of clothes. "Mr. Samsa, all things have been taken care of. We called and texted your home, informing your wife where you are." Wilder stepped on the plane, believing that Adrianne knew that Wilder and Hunter were on a business trip. Robert should have told her by now, Wilder thought. By now she was probably worried and hysterical.